The number one thing I hear from mums who want to leave the UK and have a life of travelling and world schooling their kids is, I just can't afford it. And I get it, honestly I do, because when you're already financially stretched in the UK, the thought of uprooting your family and going somewhere hot and exotic sounds like something that's going to cost you more money, not less. So today I'm going to challenge that assumption completely with some real numbers and an honest look about what it would cost to make this work. Hi, I'm Cath. I travel full-time with my 8-year-old son and we world school as we go. Before you assume I've got it all figured out financially, I haven't, but I make it work. And I've learnt enough over the last nearly 2 years of traveling the world that the money conversation around leaving the UK is almost always based on wrong assumptions. So let's talk about that properly. Okay, so here's the mindset shift that changed everything for me. I think most people think about travel in the same way they think about holidays. So spending 2 weeks in Spain, your flights, eating out all the time, doing all these activities and tours and touristy things, the hotel, obviously. And yeah, that is expensive because that's holiday prices, isn't it? Like they obviously charge more for people on holiday, but you're willing to pay more because you're on a 2-week holiday. But slow travel, which is living somewhere or being somewhere for at least a month, really, or more, that's totally different. You're not going to pay hotel prices. You're going to get accommodation that's longer term. So you're going to be paying less because you're paying for a longer period of time. You're going to be shopping at local supermarkets. You're probably going to be cooking if you've got an apartment with a kitchen. And if you're not cooking, you're still going to, an example, we didn't have in our first place in Hoi An, we didn't have a full kitchen. We just had a fridge and a kettle and we had some cutlery and some plates and things. So I just used to make breakfast every morning at home. So I had things like yogurt and fruit and some bread things and obviously coffee. So breakfast was always at home. So rather than having breakfast out, which is an expensive meal sometimes, that saved costs there straight away. But even if we couldn't cook lunch and dinner, we could at least have breakfast at home. And then if you're shopping, you can shop in local supermarkets or at local markets are fantastic. And then you can be eating in local places. You get to know where the locals eat and you eat there and it's always cheaper. So you're living like a local more than a tourist. When we were in Southeast Asia, our monthly costs were a fraction of what we pay in the UK. But, we're talking about not just surviving, aren't we? So even if your costs of living per month aren't drastically lower, you're living a way better lifestyle. So if you're living somewhere like Thailand or Bali, they are more expensive than, say, Vietnam or India, of course. But the lifestyle that you're having is way better and you get to do way more things than you would on the same budget or similar budget in the UK. For most UK families, the cost of living in other countries is always going to be less than the UK. And if you're going to approach it as slow, long-term travel, then it absolutely will be cheaper. So a bit about me and us, just so you understand where we've come from. We didn't sort of come up with this idea of world schooling and traveling out of the blue. We have traveled our whole lives, me and Jeff. I spent years traveling on my own. When I was in my 20s, I actually went around the world twice on my own before I met Jeff. I lived in Australia. I lived in New Zealand. And then with Jeff, we traveled for years in Southeast Asia, India, Central America, all over the place, really. So we really did understand how travel works. And travel is very much in our blood. It's just who we've always been. So when we had Jai, we really didn't want to stop traveling. But our situation was we moved from Australia to the UK. We moved back to the UK. But we weren't planning on staying. But then I got pregnant and then there was COVID and then we bought a house and everything kind of happened that we ended up staying in the UK for 10 years. But we always knew we were going to leave again. It was always kind of part of the plan, but it never happened. There was always something to stop us. There was always a reason, It's either something to do with Jai, something to do with the house, something to do with work or money, or COVID, obviously. So yeah, I understand how life happens and how it's easy to get stuck and be full of excuses about why you can't go. But when we decided we were going to leave, we instantly started making a plan to make it happen. So we gave ourselves 6 months. And in that 6 months, we, especially Jeff, worked really, really hard. He put in a lot of long hours. We sold a lot of our belongings. In fact, we sold pretty much everything we owned. We sold the cars, we sold the house things, we sold pretty much everything. I put a lot of things on eBay, Vinted, places like that, Facebook Marketplace. Because at that point, we weren't planning on coming back. So we didn't need to keep anything. We also decided to rent our house out rather than sell it. There's a few reasons for that. Obviously, everyone's situation is different, and I'm not a financial advisor, but we decided to rent it out because it was income, regular monthly income for us. If we did decide to come back, we wanted to have somewhere to live, like permanently. We wanted to have somewhere we could live. And we didn't want to sell it, have a huge amount of money, and then basically spend that money and then have nothing after a few years. We wanted to it's an investment for us for the future, our house. We wanted to keep it. We are incredibly fortunate that we don't have a mortgage. We had some money left to us from different people over the last few years, and we were able to buy this flat outright. So we are incredibly lucky. So the rent that we get is complete profit. In terms of income, I work online. So I'm a life coach. I've been a life coach since 2021. And I coach women with mindset issues and confidence and things like that. I teach English as a foreign language, which I've done for a couple of years now, and I enjoy it. It's something that most people could do as well, I think. It's not a long qualification to get. If you want to just teach online and earn a little bit of extra money, it's a good way to earn extra money. And then I sell digital guides. So I have this YouTube channel and Instagram, and I sell online guides to help people do this, exactly what we're doing. Some months are okay with money and some months are less so. So it's not something we can really rely on at the moment. And to be honest, I'm still figuring out this online income mix, what works best for me and for us. And while I'm in the UK, I'm figuring everything out and making sure that when we go away again in June, I have more of a solid ground so that I'm earning money consistently throughout the year. And, that's a reality for a lot of people starting this journey, trying to figure things out and making things work in a way that works for their family as well. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you I've got everything sorted, because I haven't. I'm still figuring things out. And that's after nearly 2 years of traveling. But, this is how we make it work. And this is how I am building my online remote income streams so that I can rely on those more in the future. So this is the bit most people get stuck on. It's not the cost of living abroad, because once you see how cheap things can be for us, bringing pounds into that country, the cost of living overseas is low. It's the income question. It's how can I make money if we leave, especially if you've got a location dependent job in the UK, like Jeff's a builder. You can't be a builder online. Yeah. So if you've got a job like that, then this is the big question, isn't it? And so many people have location dependent jobs. You have a salary, you have to be somewhere from 9 to 5, 5 days a week, you get your holiday each year. How can you translate that into traveling full time? So I want to offer you a different way of looking at that. The question isn't, how do I replace my entire salary while we're traveling? The question is, what's the minimum I need to cover our expenses abroad, and how can I build towards that? Because here's what changes when you move somewhere with a lower cost of living. Let's say your family needs at least $4,000 a month in the UK just to get by, with rent, with food, with bills, with activities, with clothes, with all the things that you have. In Thailand or Goa or Cambodia or Vietnam or somewhere else like that, a really comfortable life would cost probably $2,000, depending on how big your family is and how much you do, obviously. So suddenly that income target looks a lot easier. Suddenly something like a part-time online job, a new business that you could start up quite easily, transferring your skills that you have to something online, maybe freelance work, maybe creating a digital product to sell. Things that felt before that they couldn't ever replace a full-time salary start to look like it could work when you're in a different country. An example I can give you, in fact, two examples I can give you, is my teaching English. When I teach English as a foreign language and I'm in other countries, it gives me enough to get by. When I'm in the UK, it just doesn't. It's not enough to cover my monthly expenses. Years ago, 10 years ago, we were traveling in India, just me and Jeff, and I was writing. So I used to write for articles for different blog posts and different content places. And my income there was, it paid our rent, it paid our food, it paid everything in India. It wouldn't cover the bills in the UK. So this is where you need to come from. If you're thinking about how much money we need to survive in these countries, you just don't need as much. So straight away, your income doesn't have to be as high. So the income sources that tend to work for digital nomads tend to fall into a few different categories. So there's teaching online. So you could teach as a foreign language. You could do online tutoring if you have some skills that you can teach online, maybe your professional skills, or maybe you can teach something like maths or science, whatever you know. There's freelancing. So you could do some writing, a graphic designer, something arty, virtual assistant, social media management, whatever skills that you have there. There's selling digital products online. So maybe you could sell downloadable resources and PDFs, or maybe you can sell courses that you create, or templates of something that you can sell to people of what you do. And then there's coaching or consulting in your professional area of expertise. And then there's affiliate income. So if you can build up a really big following on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube, then you can do affiliate marketing. And none of these things are going to replace your salary overnight, but combining a few of those and with lower costs of living, they really can work. And I cover all of this much more detail in the UK Exit Plan, which is my course specifically for families who want to build the income and have the plan in place before they leave the UK. I'll put the link for this course in the description. So people ask me as well, how much savings do I actually need to do this? And of course, there's no right or wrong answer for this either, but there is a bit of a framework. So think about the monthly costs in a country that you're going to. So let's say £1,500 a month. I would like to have at least 3 to 6 months of savings as sort of a buffer. So what, 1,500, so 4.5 grand to say 8 grand if I was going to leave the UK without any income coming in, because that gives you breathing room to settle in. It gives you that buffer for the first month where things are going to cost more money, for figuring things out, for getting your online income up and running. But if you do have income already, if you do have work, if you're a freelancer, or if you have something coming in, or obviously if you're working remotely, then you need less of a buffer, and if you have a rental income or any sort of income, that reduces the pressure hugely. But most people really don't need as much as they think. And I think it's also about what makes you feel comfortable. So for some people, having £1,000 is okay. For other people, you need at least £10,000. It really depends on your situation, your level of comfort, and how you feel about having lots of savings or winging it, really. I would recommend having something. I think it's important because if nothing else, if you suddenly need to get home, need to buy flights, or if something goes wrong, you just have some money there just in case. So yeah, I want to be real for a second. This isn't without risk, obviously. There are no guarantees in life. You never know what's going to happen. You never know if things are going to go exactly how you want them to go according to plan, or if things are going to go pear-shaped. There are months that are tighter than others. There are moments of doubt and uncertainty, and I'd be lying if I said there wasn't. But what I weigh that against is the cost, financial and emotional, of staying in the UK rather than doing this and traveling the world and world schooling. The mortgage or the rent, for most people, takes up half of your income anyway. then the bills, which cost a fortune and keep going up, food, which is getting more and more expensive. I can't believe the amount of money we're spending on food since being back in the UK. And then you've got the grey winters, the feeling of being kind of stuck, and there must be more to life than this. And am I doing the right thing by my child, keeping them in school and they're miserable? And do I really want to go to work every day and do this job that I'm fed up with, and the commute? You know, that feeling of just being on that hamster wheel and never getting anywhere. And for us, I think the risk of staying was bigger than the risk of going. But I would encourage you, if this is something you're seriously considering, to sit down with your numbers, go through your bank statements, go through your finances with a fine-tooth comb, figure out where you can make cutbacks now, where you're spending too much at the moment, where you can make some savings, how you can grow your savings pot, and how you can start to make some money remotely. And if you want help doing that calculation, figuring out what life in another country would actually cost and what income you'd need to make that happen, my UK exit starter kit is a great place to start. It's got budget breakdowns, country comparison, and a planning checklist. The link for that is in the description. And if you're further along than that, and if you're really planning to make this move and you need some extra support with that, the UK Exit Plan is my course that walks you through everything: income, visas, logistics, the mindset, and where to live. And again, the link is in the description below. So please don't forget to like and subscribe, and drop all your money questions in the comments below. I make sure I read them all, and I will try my best to reply to you as well. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.